Renee, why don't we start with you? Since everyone knows about eBay, I'm sure people have used eBay. Hands up, how many of you have ever used eBay ever in your life? All right, just about everyone. That's
okay.
pretty good. You have one person you can sell to later and make sure they get on.
Fair enough.
So obviously, you're a platform that's reliant on technology. Without technology, you wouldn't exist.
Not exist.
But the ways in which technology is helping make you more sustainable. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about that question?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to. Oh, goodness. Now I'm scared.
Don't do that again.
I will keep my hands here. Just to level set, eBay is a third-party platform, so we don't have contracts with suppliers. We don't choose the products and goods that are sold on our platform. The sellers choose them. The buyer's demand is what drives what you can see on our platform. And it's everything under the sun. Like the number of different items that you can find at any given moment is very diverse. So what people may not also know is over 40% of our gross merchandise volume is from re-commerce. So goods that are either used.
So did you say re-commerce?
Re-commerce.
Re-commerce.
Yeah, so not just e-commerce, re-commerce. So it's just the reuse, the reselling of goods that are maybe in your garage. So 40% of our GMV comes from re-commerce. So it's already
60% are brand new items? Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't realize.
or outlet or similar.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
My question is, how?
Interrupt her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's that kind of freewheeling session at this time.
we've already pointed that out.
I mean,
Go for it.
I normally use panels as a conversation for the things that I am really interested in.
Let's
as well.
go.
How has it gone down? Like, what's the trend since the beginning of eBay? Like, did you have more e-commerce before? Like, how is that?
Well, I
trending?
mean, eBay started in 1995.
Yeah.
And the first thing that was sold is a broken laser pointer that somebody bought and fixed and was able to use. So it was like the genesis of re-commerce. Over the last 5 or 6 years, the amount of goods that are either used or refurbished on our platform has grown.
Cool.
To 40%.
That's
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, more or less, right? Great. So, so almost by definition, that helps the environment because
Yes.
you're helping in some ways with circularity, with reduced carbon footprinting. Do you have measures on this? We were talking a little bit offline before, but it sounds like you are looking into the impact of that.
And this will be our second 5-year goal for re-commerce. So every time you buy something that has a second life, you're avoiding buying something that's brand new. So something wasn't made that was brand new. And so we're able to measure the avoided carbon emissions, the avoided waste, combined from all those 40% of those products are being sold on an annual basis. It's not part of our scope 1, 2, or 3 footprint, but it's so important to our business and to how we act and part of our DNA to have the circle of circularity within the bigger circle that it was important for us to measure. So we have a 2025 goal for the avoided carbon, avoided waste, and there's also a positive economic impact as well.
How solid are the metrics on that? Is it a well-developed area with agreed standards, or is it one where you're kind of...
There's not an actual standard. We have a methodology on our website. We're very transparent. Integrity and trust on our platform is key to our success. And so what we have been able to do is using life cycle assessment to get very dorky and technical for the carbon footprint of those products or the weight of those products down to a group level. We can't differentiate between a blue and a red sweater, for instance, because the amount of goods changes minute by minute on our platform, but the categories of those goods, we're able to measure what that avoided carbon looks like from cradle to the gate of purchase.
Gotcha. So great. Okay, so that's a good introduction to what you're up to.
look up the methodology.
Maybe, John, we can come to you next. Live EO. Can you tell folks who might not know, I mean, unlike eBay, it's not as much, not yet a household name.
No, not quite. But
But maybe one day.
Yeah.
But give us a little glimpse of what it is you do, and in particular, maybe give us an idea of how you're applying AI for supply chain visibility.
yeah, so Liveo, we were founded back in 2018 in Berlin. And ostensibly, we use Earth observation technologies to solve sort of real-world problems. And one of the problems that we're solving today, and the reason that we're here, is to support our trade-aware product. And trade-aware is, we built it specifically for EUDR. One of the issues, and for those of you that have to deal with this, anything imported into the European Union after maybe January of this year has to come from sources that were deforested prior to 2020. And Identifying what was deforested, what wasn't, making sure that that's accurate, reliable, making sure that the supply chain's not getting constrained just because of bad data, not because people are violating the rules. But we identified a problem in the data sets there, so we built a product to address that, to make it easier for customers to bring their compliant goods into the European Union.
Which particular technology tools have been most useful in this?
We use we have a lot of experience with AI and ML for geospatial imagery, right? So I know ChatGPT is like the big hotness right now, but we're using it to identify deforestation that's happening in different parts of the world, and that being able to do that at an extremely accurate level allows us to really get actionable insights. So we know what's happening on the ground. As somebody's asking for the status of a given plot, we can tell them with 93, 94% accuracy whether it's compliant or not. And then you compare that, and it depends on from commodity to commodity. But we've done tests with rubber where it was 40% false positives, 47. Yeah, actually, it was 47% false positives, meaning a reduction of the supply chain available for large rubber importers. Think tires, bike tires, things like that. If the supply chain is constrained like that, prices go up, top line revenues drop. It's not great for companies. They don't want to follow this regulation if it's going to ruin their top line. But if you have better data, you can actually save that top line revenue. There are producers out there that are compliant, and we want to be able to help them get their markets or get their products to market.
You talk about customers. What is a selection of industries that you serve? Who you're leading? Who's been enthusiastic about using your products?
One of our latest customers that's just top of mind is a large hardware store chain in Germany, the biggest one that's in country there, and they've got a massive problem because they're selling goods that are sourced from all over the world, and anything that includes rubber, wood. It's a hardware store. They're going to have a lot of these products. They need to make sure that they're compliant with everything that they're bringing in on their own, under their own label, plus the things that they're bringing into market for the first time.
How much of this ends up being a sort of a compliance exercise rather than driving real sustainability that goes further?
The compliance exercise, and this is something I call it paperwork, right? Yeah. Paperwork's important, but making sure that you're actually compliant is the most important part. Creating a system or creating practices that allow you to accurately identify whether something is compliant or non-compliant, that's going to be the difference between whether somebody does it or doesn't. One of the problems that we see, and I don't know if you've seen it, has seen issues with data on sustainability, but a lot of it is model-based, which means it's naturally inaccurate, right? So the more that we can get that's actual data, right, and get it quickly, the better it is for the overall industry, and the better it is for the planet, because it's easier to bring those sustainable goods to market and know that they're truly sustainable.
Right. Good. That's very interesting. Now, Ruth, you've already demonstrated that you're a troublemaker on this panel. And in last year at this conference, she was advocating against capitalism and growth. She wanted us to go into a death spiral of doom and degrowth. And yet we invited you back because The Economist is a broad church. We believe in all opinions being expressed in a respectful manner.
That's not true.
And so now, what is it you're going to create trouble on this session, I wonder? We'll find out in a moment. But to start with, at the beginning, Lush. Not everyone may know Lush, so please give just a little introduction to what Lush does, and tell us. I'm very keen to learn how a Lush lens can help us scan naked products. It sounds very enticing. I'd like to know what that's.
So we are a cosmetics manufacturer and retailer. And it's an interesting business because most of our business is direct to consumer, either online through our own platforms or through our own shops, which gives us a lot more freedom into how we make decisions at Lush because we are very vertically integrated. We even run some of our own supply chain projects, and it's a company from the UK. So we are from Poole in the southwest of the UK, and now we are in about 50 countries with nearly 1,000 stores. I think we're at 950. So in most large consuming markets, but yeah, owning the high street. But we don't have a super strong presence in our own social media channels because we have quite high who have some really high like integrity, some high ethical principles, and they end up making us make sometimes or almost all the time very non-commercial decisions.
What's an
So
example?
I joke that it's a miracle that we're a successful
Yeah,
business.
actually, how many people in this room have used Lush products? Wow,
look
look
at
at
that.
that. So you're doing something right. That's
Yay.
excellent. But when you say you've made some decisions based on ethics that might work against, I guess, commercialization, give an example.
Coming off Meta platforms.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so we have
no Facebook for you.
no presence in Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. That's huge. Yeah.
What's your beef with TikTok?
I think the beef with all of these organizations was when in 2021 there was Frances Hughes, I think is her last name, a whistleblower from Facebook that said that for a long time they knew they had done all the research in especially teenagers and teenager girls, and they knew the algorithm was damaging to teenagers, and they continued, just reinforcing. And the algorithm we know is a main issue for young people's mental health, and we felt that as a brand we would not put our shops in a dark alley that is dangerous to young women. Why would we attract our customers to a platform that was operating from, misguided algorithms that focused on money rather than health?
Okay. Well, how does that extend to the topic of our conversation here, which is technology? When you think about the use of technology, how do you apply your ethical principles?
Yeah.
And what sort of dilemmas does it pose for you?
Very interesting. We have a whole technology R&D team called the Tech Warriors, really committed to trying to think, how do we do tech for good or ethical technology? And we've done things like our main website is on an open source platform. We worked hard with Google to make sure that the Google Cloud that we use is the low carbon options from Google Cloud. We are playing with AI, but trying to see how do we use an AI product while really reducing the amount of energy that the AI is using by reducing the number of tokens. We are funding a PhD student to do wave power, to study tidal power in Pool Harbor. So one day we can have our own servers powered by local renewable energy. So many, and Lush Lens is really interesting because we've used Google machine learning already. Maybe now this project is 4 years old, and because we sell a lot of products without packaging, we created an app. So we trained with the AI now, actually, we trained the machine learning engine on all of our products, even if they're half used. So if you're at home and you don't have the label anymore and the product doesn't have packaging, like a bath bomb, it doesn't have packaging, and you can just take a picture with our own app and it will tell you, right, it's this packaging and these are the legal requirements. So we can sell products without packaging because we have the app to tell you what it is.
And that has been met with approval by the regulators that insisted you need the packaging or the information on the packaging?
Yeah, in Japan, we were able to actually sell, because Japan is super packaging culture, and we were able to sell the products, to have them on the shelves without packaging because we had created this tool. Yeah.
And obviously there are other considerations and trade-offs you're accepting there.
Huge trade-offs.
With less footprint, for example, in retail without the packaging as the reason people big up those packages for a tiny little thing inside. Other marketing dimensions may be affected as well, but you're making those choices because of the policies and philosophies at your company. Did I hear correctly earlier that you're also you've taken away certain AI tools from your team?
But it's not.
No Google AI for you. What's up with that?
We said, who wants to test Google AI? And people put their hands up. So we got a bunch of Google AI licenses. And then one day in January, they just turned on Gemini for everyone. And there was a huge commotion around the business. Seriously, because of course we attract people who are all activists. And they were how come I have this AI without my consent? What's happening to our data? We don't want this. And people wrote letters to this. So we were also caught by surprise. So we talked to Google and said, right, let's turn this off at the company license level until we figure out all the issues with AI. There's so many issues, folks. We're deploying these things without really understanding how we manage the collateral impacts of all of this. So now no one can use Gemini until we really understand what is our own policy, and we get a convincing response from Google. Which I haven't
had a
yet.
similar journey
Yeah,
within
cool, see?
eBay.
I didn't know you guys lived in a cave too.
Not a game.
All furnished by eBay, obviously. No, we have a responsible AI ethics committee internally that has to review what are the AI principles that we will stand by as eBay, both for our consumers, but also internally for how we operate. So it's interesting that we want to use technology for good, but we need to put some sort of a cage around it, right? So that we
Well, give
aren't
an example. You
offline.
call it a cage, but what is a practical way in which this committee has curbed or proscribed the use of AI? What difference has it made that you
And
have
I'm
such a
not
committee?
our chief AI officer, but
No, like,
right.
what's something you're not doing because you
There's
said it's not
we use
appropriate?
Zoom, right? And there's an AI agent within
Yeah.
Zoom to help take notes. But there's also one for facial recognition in terms of your emotions, and that one's not turned on within eBay because it just gave everybody a little bit of ick.
It's super creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, so there's, and then there's a lot to do with the way that we actually develop AI for our consumers, which is good. And we also have to take down listings all the time because unfortunately there are bad actors in the world putting things on our website that we legally do not want up there or ethically do not want up there. And so being able to use AI more advanced helps us to put, the good cage around the technology.
Right. Okay. Well, good. This might be a moment to turn to the audience. Any questions for our tech in retail gurus? Who's got a good challenge for them? I know it's late in the day, but I can imagine there's got to be one question coming for our experts. Why don't you? Okay, is a
There we go.
courageous fella in the front. Let's get a microphone to him.
Good afternoon. Daniel here from Millennial Masters podcast and newsletter. I was wondering, what are the actual use cases then for AI in retail? You told us a lot about what you're not using and what you're not willing to do or compromise at the moment. I understand on the eBay side, you check on the listings, but I'm wondering for Lush, does it help you with new formulations maybe?
No, I think we have been, and I was actually having a great conversation with one of our copywriters, and I was like, how much are you using AI to do copywriting? And he's saying, as little as possible, because what he was noticing is his capacity to recall words was getting reduced, right? So this is really, and there was research published by Microsoft and Carnegie University, I think last week or the week before, that AI is reducing people's critical thinking capabilities. So, and critical thinking is directly tied to democracy. Like, what are we doing? So it was really interesting conversation about how they're trying to keep their creativity and their capacity to write alive, but not relying on AI. What we are using AI for is so on the website to support you so like an agent that can support you find the information that you need or go deeper into the use for the products and do a little bit more the like direct, just like if you walk to a Lush shop, we have very well trained customers assistants. We don't have that on the website. So how can we replicate that on the website? So I think that's the main like public-facing use for AI, and then internally, of course, supply chain. I think like your case for AI is super important, which is how do we better understand the data? But we haven't started with formulations or anything like this.
Yeah, and it's a great question because it's not just about restriction. We're using AI to help increase the amount of e-commerce that takes place on our website. A couple tools are magical listing, so sort of the opposite. But I, as an have you? Oh, good. So basically, you can take a picture, put in a couple of keywords for, let's just say you want to sell this bottle of water, and the AI magical listing will populate basically the description and make it sound fun. Where I would be struggling. It's a bottle of water. I don't know. So AI is really helpful for that. And there's another tool called Shop the Look. So if you have an outfit that's already as a picture that's being pushed out to you because it's based on things that you've bought in the past, but you want that brown bag and maybe this white shirt, and because the amount of inventory that's on eBay, and it's not just all fashion too, right? It could be a lamp or whatever, a home good or a vacuum cleaner. It can help you find that on the website and show you for the Shop the Look in particular. similar white shirts or similar jeans or whatever it is that you're looking at that you want to find, because it's a lot to scroll through on eBay for sure.
Has it translated into greater sales? Have you been able to find a through line to financial reward?
I can't say specifically Shop the Look has, but the increase in the amount of pre-loved fashion is definitely on the rise. And I think there's a lot of reasons. It's not just because of AI. Gen Z is no longer afraid of thrifting, and just the general concept around buying something that's already been used, that ick factor has gone away to a large extent. And so, and then you want to save money too, right? Like, why do I need to buy something for full price if I can have it in good quality, but it's already been used once, like the Dyson vacuum cleaner that I bought refurbished on eBay myself.
They're so overpriced in the first place. So
They're so good.
they're so good. Exactly. You're going to jump in?
I was just going to say, I think, for example, what's bothering me a little bit about all the retail AI facing tools is that the customer cannot turn it off. So, for example, even Google search, like most of the time, I really don't need AI. I can just do a normal Google search, but I cannot turn AI off, or eBay. I cannot turn like the magic, the outfit bit off. I think like beginning to give customers the option of whether they want to have AI assisted shopping experience or not, I think would be super interesting, and probably also reduce all the downstream effects and save AI for the actual proper stuff.
Right. And early studies suggest there's a 10x or more increase for doing AI searches when, frankly, a conventional Google search probably could have, found out the information you need. And so we have to give some indulgence for the fact that AI tools are so new that we're all playing around a bit, and we need to get familiar with this. So there's some gap for experimentation, I think, that has to be allowed. But once we get past that phase, if we were to lock in a much higher pattern of energy usage, obviously that would be an environmental disaster in the making. So you
And
guys
not
are
all
ahead of us.
technology is AI, too,
No,
right?
no.
Like, there's a lot of other tech.
And I think
Yeah.
the coolest thing about AI is if you're using it in the right way, you don't even know that it's there because it's not trying to be intrusive, right? It's there to help. We use it internally for product development. We use it for sales. We use it with customers, right? When customers
This
are
is
trying
machine learning, or the new LLMs?
So this is LLM, right? But we use it in the context of how can we help our customers become smarter about the regulations that are coming down the pipe, right? And you can use OpenAI, you can use ChatGPT, but if it's untrained, it will hallucinate, right? It'll make things up out of whole cloth. We had one instance we were using Llama, and it wrote an entire story about how one of our product managers committed suicide. He didn't. It was very disturbing when you read it, but
Wow.
but it went really dark, really fast.
Is there anything in the prompts that would have led it to go down that road?
We asked it what happened to this feature, and then it just created this entire story. But it went really dark, really fast.
Wow.
Yeah, and Alan is alive and well.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? So I'm always interested because that's it. Like AI is this black box that you need to train
Yeah.
in certain ways. Like, how do you actually? What is AI doing in terms of taking the satellite data and be able to tell me to 10 by 10 meters square
Pattern recognition.
whether there is
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So we have
what do you train it on?
We use Sentinel-2 data
Right.
from ESA, and we've got a group of people in Latvia in an operations studio up there that are training these models on what a natural rainforest looks like. What does the canopy look like? And if you understand what canopy looks like in, say, Borneo, then you understand what not canopy is.
Right.
And if something is not canopy, that's been deforested, and then you can go back in time series and understand when this thing happened.
Right.
Right? Was it deforested after the cutoff or before the cutoff? But there are lots of companies out there that built models to understand deforestation, but without the ML and without targeting it, there is no global model that'll tell you deforestation that will work in Brazil as well as Indonesia or West Africa, right? That's just a reality, which is how you end up with errors in that data. If you look at the JRC data that the EU is recommending or has produced to help with EUDR compliance, it's showing deforestation, in the Indian Ocean. Sure. Okay.
It is deforested.
Garbage in, garbage out, I see.
Yeah.
We just have a little bit of time left. We talked a lot about AI. There are other technologies, obviously. I think your organization is using blockchain, or at least has trialed it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I think again, blockchain, different types of blockchain, very high energy consuming. So what feels like an appropriate use of blockchain? And at the moment, it's for us is very critical supply chains. So for example, frankincense, like we use a lot of perfume materials. And a lot of them are connected to potential deforestation or other, maybe they are a vulnerable species. And for example, frankincense, the really great frankincense in the world, comes from Somaliland. And there's over-harvesting. There are lots of issues locally with the community. So having full chain of custody to the tree, so we know the material that we're using, like which tree that came from, you guarantee that chain of trust through blockchain. So we have this very successful project
You
in
can do a product
Somaliland.
passport or a supply chain.
Exactly, something like that. And then we know that our trees are also connected to the project that's trying to reforest frankincense, and it's not from over-harvested trees and things like this. This is one of our main uses of blockchain. Yeah.
And it's lived up to the promise. I know, for example, Walmart uses it in certain areas of meat, and there's been experiments in other areas. These are always easier, or they're more elegant on paper than in practice.
Yeah.
And as you further up you go in the supply chain, maybe the harder it gets. And there's some cheating as well that can play a role. You need good faith actors up and down. You need to have outside checks on the data that's entered onto your blockchain, right? That it isn't fabricated or modified
Exactly.
for entry.
And this like external trust,
Right.
right? System is what we can use blockchain for.
Yeah.
So I think like blockchain uses for supply chain, especially with UDR coming in, ensuring full, like I think it would be amazing for, as a customer, you buy something and you can see exactly where the materials or where that came from.
Right.
If it was like secondhand, what are the previous owners? Where, no, of course, no private data,
Okay,
but
that's
like
a little creepy.
no private data. But maybe I'm like the second owner. Maybe I'm the third owner. Maybe
Only buying very
this
used clothes.
this came from
Right.
I don't know
Well,
somewhere else,
similarly,
like
we
something
have
like this.
like an authenticity guarantee
Yeah,
on
that's it.
certain higher
Yeah.
end goods, so that there is an evaluation that takes place, and then it gets stamped in a digital way, and so you have the confidence that what you're buying is that Chanel bag or whatever
Yeah.
it happens to be.
Well, that's good. I think. Yeah, oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, just to say there's this new thing of digital twins as well. For really high value goods, you create a digital twin and people can buy a part of that diamond or a part of that handbag, which for me is insane. But, this is also how technology is influencing retail at the moment.
Yeah, I'll go get a piece of a Birkin bag. And
Exactly.
that's all I need.
The handle.
Just that.
Well, good. I'm glad we turned this around. We're headed down in a very anti-tech way for a while, but now we've come around to thinking that tech, in fact, can be a force for good. So thank you to my panel. We're just out of
Thank
time.
you.
Please give them a nice round of applause.